y'all doing, folks? Welcome to this edition of the Outdoors Bound podcast. I'm George Noleff. Thanks for being with us. Expect to be hearing a lot of that in the weeks ahead. Spring gobbler season opens Saturday, April 13th. Now, I know a lot of you have been hunting turkeys for a while, but it never hurts to get a reminder about the prep we all should be doing right now. I talked with veteran turkey hunter and Gobbler Talk Virginia administrator Randy Frango. He says do your homework before the season starts. And by homework, he means getting to know the area you want to hunt. Get out there, look, and listen.
If I was coming into this place and I didn't know it I've never hunted it before in my life, prior to season, I'm gonna come in here in the morning and I'm gonna listen for a turkey. And if I hear him there on that ridge in the morning, then I'll listen a couple more days this week. If I'm planning on hunting that turkey next Saturday for opener, I would be in here and know where that turkey is coming off. And I don't call to him. Sit back here and listen to him. If he wants to gobble all morning long, listen to where he goes. And just sit and listen to him. And if he goes over into this flat and he spends half a day over there or the next hour over there, and he does that a couple times, if you have enough time to be able to do that, sit and listen to them. See where they go each morning. They might come off and come to the water every morning. If they do that, then you need to get between the roost and the water. So that's where you can put a lot of time into it, and the more time you put into it, the more success you're going to have.
I was fortunate enough to ride around with Randy for several hours over the weekend. The man is a wealth of turkey hunting knowledge. It was a windy day, hard to hear, but just because you can't hear a turkey doesn't mean you can't figure out where they are, and that knowledge will come in handy during the season.
But getting out here is part of the process.
Yeah, getting out, finding turkeys, seeing them. On a day like today, it's so windy. Chances of hearing one is not real good. But if you can see them and know where they're at, just take a mental note. And on days like this, you just want to get into places that you know there's birds and set up and do some calling, put out decoys, just put your time in. Be where the turkeys are at. If they're typically going to scratch the ground looking for food, and you find where the turkeys are at, even though you're not hearing them, you know they're in the area. So on a windy day like today, turkeys aren't saying much. You get in a place where there's sign where you've seen turkeys or found their sign, get in there, set up, put a decoy up, pop a blind up, and just spend the day calling. Call every 10 or 15 minutes. And it can be productive. Might not be as exciting as running and gunning, but it can be productive.
When you talk about running and gunning, what are you talking about?
Staying on the move. You go from place to place, get out and call and listen. Like I hunt a lot of government land, and I spend a lot of time in the vehicle, and I'll stop and call and listen, and I'll go a quarter mile and get out and call and listen again. And that's one form of running and gunning. Some is running and gunning on your feet, and that's covering a lot of ground, calling and listening, and whatever fits you. I like to cover as much ground as possible, so I stay mobile until I hear a turkey.
And then you get out and you set up on it.
I might have 500 yards to walk, but I'm gonna cover a lot of ground on these national forest. You're hunting high pressure turkeys on these national forest roads, and that's fine. I don't mind that challenge of hunting high pressure turkeys, but I like to cover a lot of ground, and national forest is full of wild turkeys. Fire in the hole.
Another thing, Randy says to pattern your gun. You want a tight shot pattern for a headshot to make a clean, ethical kill. That means testing different shells to see which ones work best with your choke tube. What you learn can be the difference between harvesting a bird or missing your shot.
When you're getting ready for spring this year for your spring turkey hunt, you want to match your shotgun shells and your choke tube to perform and have the best pattern for your shotgun. And it could be any number of brands, but you need to match that to give you your best pattern for your shotgun. And then you could go through, I have several options here, and then I've already patterned all of mine, so I know what works best for me. The number 5 in the 3-inch Magnum works best for me for the shotgun that I carry.
But you need to actually get some shells out and fire them to figure out what it is that's going to work for you.
Yeah, and you might end up buying, there's so many choke tubes on the market. So you might go through 2 or 3 choke tubes, and then you might try all these shells right here, and then you might find that the one shell with the one choke tube that you purchased works best.
And that's because you need a full choke. You want that to be tight.
You want a full choke. You want a full choke, and then you want to shoot this gun and be confident in it when you go out into the woods. You want to shoot it on paper, and I would recommend shooting it at 30 yards. That's a good range to shoot a spring gobbler. You want to shoot your gun at 30 yards, shoot several different rounds, and pick whichever one works the best for the choke tube that you have.
And don't forget calls.
You just have different tones and pitches. And when I set up to do when I set up calling, I'll mix it up and have different sounds. And it carries a friction cost will carry better in conditions like we've had, like on Youth Day. It was really windy, and those friction calls will penetrate that wind and carry better than say a mouth call would. And then I like to mix it up and run maybe 2 calls at one time. Early in the season, you can get by with more calling because the hens are typically more vocal in the early spring versus later. So you can get by with more calling, and you want to mimic maybe 2 turkeys versus just running 1 call. You're just sounding like 1 turkey. On a typical day's hunt, I might use all 3 of them calls, or sometimes I'll sit up and I'll just use the 1 pot call. And I like running, this is aluminum call here, but I'll run an aluminum call and the mouth call, or the mouth call and the box call together, and run and sound like 2 different turkeys.
Randy says the turkey's going to be your best teacher. Get out there, get some experience. Now, last spring, more than 24,000 turkeys were harvested in Virginia. The Department of Wildlife Resources says poor hatches the past 3 years may have numbers off just a bit this year, but there are still plenty of birds to hunt. Turning out to fish in the striper action at Smith Mountain Lake has been hot and heavy. Plenty of good catches coming from boat and shore anglers. Trolling live bait or throwing swim baits and stick baits going to work there. Largemouth and smallmouth action has also been good at SML. Down at Philpott, hearing good things about bass, jigs and stick baits have been the key. Walleye are also being caught shallow after dark at Philpott. Claters turning up good numbers of stripers, hybrids, and bass. We hear the crappies have started up at Bugs Island, some blue cats being caught there too. Muskie are on the spawn in the New and the James. Now most anglers there have turned their attention to smallmouth. We talked with guide Rob England of Appalachian Bronzeback Adventures.
I love square bill crankbaits. I hardly use, if I'm using a crankbait, that's about all I'm using, except that I use a lot of jerk baits too. But if I'm just throwing a crankbait, it's pretty much a square bill. I don't think that for the most part you need you know, unless you've got some real high water conditions, you know, if you're in normal or slightly above, I think that they typically run 3 to 5 feet. That's about the average of the river depth. You know, you got some holes obviously are 15 feet, and then, you know, you got some water that's a foot. But there's just something about that wobble and that displacement. Anything that's a combination of brown, orange, yellow, olive green, and red. You know, you can have that combination all in a lure, but you know, a lot that typically is a crawfish some type of crawfish pattern.
If you get a chance, the shad run's going on over on the Chesapeake Bay trips. The Rappahannock and the James get good runs of hickories. Alex McRickard of the Virginia Department of Wildlife Resources talks about how to target those hickory shad.
So when you're out here fishing for shad, you can use a light tackle outfit, which makes it a lot of fun. And again, a lot of times what folks will end up using is just a small gold spoon or a silver spoon. And typically I'm fishing it Carolina rig style behind a weight to get it out there. And really it's just a steady retrieve with a little bit of a light pop, and they jump on it. Some folks use shad darts too, which are different colored darts. And then when we fly fish for them, we'll use flies that sort of are like the fly fishing equivalent of these shad darts. And they come in pink, green, orange, chartreuse. Get them low in the water column with full sinking line and strip them through the water column that way. But yeah, they're fun little spirited fish. Great seasonal visitors for our tidal rivers this time of the year.
Speaking of the shad run, sometimes the strangest things bring out the best in us. Along the banks of the James, if you have a fishing pole, then you just might have your faith in humanity restored.
Put it over there, baby, gonna drop.
A guy who was a lot smarter than me once said, if people concentrated on the really important things in life, there'd be a shortage of fishing poles.
Yeah.
Who knew a trip to the banks of the James River near downtown Richmond, Virginia would prove him right?
Just caught one a minute ago.
Thousands of people make the pilgrimage there every spring to catch fish.
So it's really just like, boom, everything migratory and like that's gonna spawn is here.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
While there are any number of species that can be caught during the spring runs on the James, these folks come mostly for the shad.
Yeah, trying to catch shads, man. You know, shads are a pretty good fish to eat. You know, they have a lot of bones, but you know, a lot of people some people throw them back.
What is it that brings you out here? What do you love about this?
I think just the mass amount of fish and people at the same time.
This time of year on the James, you'll find people of every ethnicity, philosophical persuasion, every walk of life coexisting and actually helping and caring for each other. Turns out shad, or at least shad fishing, has the power to unify.
Nobody comes out here to really argue. We all here for one achievement, and that's to catch shad. So
everybody know everybody. No trouble, no nothing.
Number 6.
Need help netting a fish or untangling a line? Maybe you're short on tackle, or maybe you're not catching, but you sure would like to take a fish home. Well, that guy or gal standing next to you, the one you've never met before, is about to do what friends do.
But I keep them, you know, I give them away too.
That's the way we are. We share.
Yeah. So everyone just helps each other out.
there's a lot of people out here that's always willing to give you something if you need it.
Some people catch them for fun and throw them back. Others, well, they're looking for a meal.
The hickory shad.
What are you gonna do with that?
We're gonna keep him.
Enough for 5 tortillas. Yeah.
You grind them up, and you put some seasoning, some herbs in it, and you fry them.
So no matter what you do with them, it's just about the joy of catching and maybe, just maybe, spending some quality time being good to each other.
You just come here and enjoy yourself. That's all. I just come here to enjoy myself. Take some time off.
It's a good catch.
The shad run's going to keep going for about another 3 weeks. Fishing for shad requires a road trip. The other fish that's a Virginia springtime tradition also requires a bit of travel. We're talking about summer flounder. April's when those flatfish start getting real active in places like Kiptopeek, Wachapreague, and Chincoteague. While flounder numbers are still good off of Virginia, researchers at Virginia Tech have noticed a shift to the north in the summer flounder biomass.
When I'm 14. Oh yeah.
Catching flounder is a Virginia tradition.
Oh yeah, that's a nice one.
Oh, very nice.
It's just what we do in the Commonwealth because for decades, when it came to summer flounder, one of the three primary species on the Atlantic coast, Virginia and North Carolina were the epicenter of summer flounder stocks. There were more here than anywhere else.
We're close.
Summer flounder have historically been a really important recreational and commercial resource for people in Virginia and along the Atlantic seaboard.
It's dinner.
Right. But now those flounder are moving, and the researchers at Virginia Tech are trying to figure out why. Professor Holly Kinsvater is leading the study.
They've either migrated or just the center of their biomass has shifted northward. So where historically most flounder were off of Virginia and North Carolina, now they're up off of Long Island and New Jersey, and even moving north towards Nantucket and Massachusetts.
It's a female. Oh, I'm so excited.
Student researchers from Tech have spent countless hours on the water tracking flounder, trying to figure out where they're going and why. Water temperature appears to play a role. There could be millions and millions of dollars riding on what those Tech researchers find. Right now, Virginia and North Carolina get the biggest allocation of commercial and recreational summer flounder harvest on the East Coast. But if those fish are moving north, those allocations could be moving north too, to New Jersey and New York.
I mean, there's only two or three commercial fishermen. One guy here and another fellow down there that's only doing to help feeding the communities. So it's getting pretty tough. So people like myself just got into getting to the tourism because it's another way of life and stay on the water.
Climate change is the big sort of unstoppable force that is dictating where the flounder are and where they're having spawning success. With this project, we're really trying to dig into their spawning biology and spawning behavior. And so we've noticed changes in how long they're spawning, and maybe even just, the timing of their migration in and offshore, which could affect the success of those eggs that they're spawning as they move.
The rest of those, yeah, you put in the cooler.
Even with the shift north, Virginia still has a good summer flounder fishery, at least for now.
21 3/4.
I always try to emphasize this is a productive stock. The fish grows incredibly fast. It should be able to be fished sustainably. It's just we're having some trouble figuring out how climate change has influenced some of the basic biology of the stock.
I mean, the water is a good living, but it's tough, You got to battle the weather and the elements and work around Mother Nature, So it's just something you got to do. He is 19 3/4.
Special thanks to Captain Matt Mason of Marshland Charters over in Chincoteague for taking us to catch some flounder for that story. That Tech research is ongoing. We'll let you know what they find out. Now, if you plan to fish for flounder, bottom fishing flounder rigs with live minnows or squid, that's going to take fish. You hear that? That's the sound of Johns Creek in Craig County. Time now for 30 seconds of solitude. Man, just love that sound. On that note, time for me to wrap it up for this week. I'm George Noleff, WFXR News Outdoors Bound. Until we talk again, good hunting and tight lines, y'all.
You build the mountains in your dreams. You lead the world so you can breathe. Whoa. You walk on fields inside your mind. You cross the oceans and the skies. Whoa. It's like you found a better way. Don't fight them all. What they say, just turn around and walk away.